I don't know. I don't know where you go. mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Really bad at this.
I don't know where you could go.
Somebody decided to let me know that I misspelled it.
I saw that. I
fixed it though. I swear.
Great.
I fixed it.
Yeah.
We got it right. Don't worry about it. I edit the show eventually.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Today's episode is made possible by our partner, Dirty B.
Dirty B.
And now broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangible. It's time for some Pod Therapy. And on that note, I do want to announce
that note. That note.
I'm just going to announce it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just announce it, Nick.
I don't know how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But if I talk about it,
yeah,
I have to do it.
Oh, that's true.
This announcement coming to you right now from Nick Tangeman. Nick, let's hear your announcement.
Do you have the breaking news thing? Okay.
Nick Tangeman, everyone.
Up to the chopper with Nick Tangeman. Nick, what are you seeing up there?
Okay.
These throws are great.
We're doing, I'm going to be doing.
Nick Tangeman out in the hurricane. Tangeman, what's going on?
Crash.
You know, it's amazing because he has an iPad filled with drops.
No,
but
why?
This is what we get.
Why? Why would he?
Why waste your time with that when you're basically Robin Williams?
Yeah. It's so much more fun. No, he's the guy from Police Academy.
Oh, Police Academy. Yeah, and now throwing to Nick over in the radar station. Nick, what's going on with those submarines?
So here's what we're doing. It is
Nick, what is going on with the fog out there? How's the port?
We're coming up on the end of October by the time this comes out. So I got 2 months to announce this.
Oh, okay.
All right. To prepare, because starting in January,
yes,
I'm putting together a 2-month fitness challenge.
Oh, shit.
Nick Tangeman's 2-month fitness challenge.
2 months, 2023, and me.
I'm trying to think of...
23 and me is definitely
already a thing. All right, new slogan. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Roll with it.
It's too late.
So a 2-month fitness challenge launching in January of this year.
I'm thinking about I got to come up with a name with it. Some fitness challenge in your life.
Yeah. We'll get it.
Mental health.
Yeah, fitness.
We'll think of something
in your life.
There it is. There we go. Finally,
fire truck.
2 minutes later.
Yeah, it's Nick's fitness challenge. Time to get those tangible results.
So I have an app with my program.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking about doing with this is, for anybody who's interested, you want to do this 2-month challenge. I'll basically give you access to the app for 2 months.
Cool.
And with that app, I can put exercises, I can put workouts into your schedule.
Awesome.
I can put in some reading, some articles, something that I find important or interesting. I can put that into your schedule. You have access. So everything will be through this app. It's got a chat feature, so you can chat with other people in the program.
Oh, badass.
You can chat back and forth with
fantastic.
myself.
Just ignore him. He's having a great time. He's just doing what he does.
Yeah. Now he's just rediscovering his soundboard.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you say. He's just pushing the buttons. These are all not related to this.
So, here's my plan is to do 2 versions of this.
Okay.
I'm going to do an in-home version.
Like a version.
For people that don't have access to the gym, or they just want to do in-home workouts or stuff like that. And then I want to have...
That might be good for you, Jim.
That might be good for me.
Because when you go out in public, people make fun of you.
Every fucking time. Anyway, go on.
I get that people make fun of you. I don't get the surprise that you have.
It bothers me, man.
Anyway.
My whole life that didn't happen. I'm getting up to 40.
That's the part I don't believe.
Okay, well, I mean, it did.
I feel like you just didn't notice.
People were less obvious about it. The brazen... Anyway, go on. The second type is what? The
second type is going to be for people who do have access to the gym. So mostly going to focus on smaller pieces of equipment, dumbbells, kettlebells,
cool.
some resistance stuff like that.
Dizzle.
So
I love it.
So that's the plan.
So the 2-month fitness challenge
So
come up
be
in
in,
first quarter of next year, starting
January
in January.
and February.
Awesome.
Nick Tangeman's 2-month fitness challenge.
There it is.
Thank you.
How will people find that when they want to dig this up in January? How do they find it?
I have no idea.
Awesome. You're doing great. Yeah.
I just came up with this on the spot.
You're holding yourself accountable. I
No,
love it.
we'll advertise it either. Well,
Details to follow.
details to
What's
follow.
the
We'll talk
website?
about it in the
Yeah,
show.
there you go.
mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Because it'll be on the website.
I'll definitely have it on the website.
Yeah.
So however we do it, we'll probably end up directing you to my website, and
Yep.
there will be a page especially for this.
And that website
Yes.
again is?
mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
He needs a jingle.
I'm getting better.
All right.
I think you need a jingle. We
That's
need
Nick
some kind of
Tangeman, everyone.
Way
with
up there
his
in the
brand
chopper.
new
Thanks,
2-month
everybody.
fitness challenge.
Fitness challenge in your 2 months. Yeah. I'm really good at the helicopter sound. I'm really a master of my craft. Also, on this topic of mental health crossing over with physical health, you have a deep dive releasing, I believe, on Halloween.
Yes.
And this will be accessible at patreon.com/therapy to all the theropods and up. What's this deep dive going to be?
It is exercise and anxiety. So
Awesome.
exercise as a way to help cope with symptoms of anxiety disorder.
Perfect. Yeah. It's huge overlaps here. I'm glad you're finally going to get into that and start exploring that, because every time that new research is coming out, it's amazing how often that's what I'm seeing in the margins. Is they constantly are just referring back to all these studies. They're talking about the effect of exercise and specific kinds of movement in mental health and how that's affecting depression, anxiety, in substance abuse treatment now, in mindfulness. There is no difference between the mind and the body.
Right.
It is just one thing. And so that's really cool. I'm glad you're going to start doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
That is going to be a great deep dive. And also look out for next month's deep dive, why you should sign up for Nick's 2-month fitness challenge.
Nick's Mental Fitness Challenge. I'm going to work on the jingle. I just feel like...
I don't see why.
you know what?
Let's just cut that.
Yeah.
And I'll just use that.
Why don't we
as-
just do it? I think the jingle should be like jazz. It's like offbeat. It's like a beat poet. You just throw it out there. Doesn't have to rhyme. Doesn't have to follow a pattern. Doesn't have to be predictable or memorable. It just is, man.
All right, go ahead.
Can you
Go
dig
ahead,
it?
Jim.
Come on. It's mental health, physical health. Nick Tangeman. January 2 months. Check out things.
So wait a minute.
Only 4 more minutes.
People have been making fun of
A
you?
little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Huh.
And out in the open, it's just,
So
it's getting
strange.
weird.
So strange.
Find out all about it at patreon.com/therapy with all those extra goodies like the extended episode where you can find out about my Pilates experience and how I finally hit the age where people in their 20s and teens feel very comfortable mocking
It's
me
definitely
in
not an age
public.
thing.
Definitely not age.
Hear my tales of woe.
There's
Yeah.
nothing about
Not
that.
an age thing at all.
I feel like it is, guys. I feel like that's just... Anyway.
Nick and I both are older than you, and I believe, at least I look older than you.
You're both intimidating, though. Like, if people just see either of you, they're not like, let me
rode
fuck
a
with this
stand-up
guy in an
scooter
Albertsons.
to the. I rode a stand-up scooter to the studio right just now.
Nobody really dares to mock you, and you're driving a scooter. See, that fucking pisses me off, man. I was sitting in a chair. What was I doing? I took a selfie. He rides a scooter that lights up like a
Jim,
Christmas
you were
tree.
taking a dump on your lawn.
Yeah, but it's my lawn, man.
Nope.
This America. I mean, that's what Washington fought
Fertilizer's got to fertilize.
for. That's right. What is America if not a place that I could take a shit on my fake grass in the Mojave Desert?
You know what? You've won me over. I'm back on Jim's side.
Guy makes a lot of good points.
Yep. I'd argue with him if I could, guys.
Freedom isn't free, guys. Freedom isn't free. All right, we got some great questions today. Well, let's start off with this first one. Failed my first year of medical school and feeling like a failure. From Anonymous. Hi, y'all. First off, wanted to say I really love this podcast and all the work that you guys are doing. For some context, med school in my country immediately starts after graduating high school, lasting 6 years. I finished my first year, then found out that I'd failed my exams. This wasn't surprising to me, as I knew I didn't study hard and I was in such depression funk most of the year. I procrastinated and did everything last minute, so much that I didn't even start watching the many lectures until a month before exams, which, of course, was too late. It was also the same when I finally saw a psychiatrist and I was diagnosed with ADHD and put on meds. It really helped. I could finally sit down for more than 20 minutes without being distracted or sidetracked. It wasn't the end of the world as I got to sit for my exam retakes a few weeks ago, but I got my results back and I failed again. As I failed twice, I now have to redo the entire year. I know the issue and I'm determined to change my studying habits, especially now that I'm getting help for ADHD. But I constantly have really self-deprecating thoughts in my head, and I can't help but feel like an incredible failure and a disappointment to my friends, family, and myself. Most of my friends are moving on without me, while I'm stuck redoing year one again. It's so humiliating, and seeing them around campus will be a constant reminder of how I failed. My self-worth is very low right now, and I feel almost guilty if I catch myself being happy for a moment. I don't know what to do to make the situation better or how to change my mindset. Any advice or suggestions, etc., are really appreciated. Thank you, Anonymous.
All right. So
This is a good one.
First thing, let's put this into perspective. Failing my first year of medical school would be the height of everything I've ever achieved.
The greatest accomplishment I
I've
ever had.
never achieved anything
Getting
as
into
high
medical school.
as
And
failing
out
my
of
first
it.
year.
Winning.
I mean, you got to get into it first.
I'm still looking up at that from where I'm at.
That's a good point.
Do you realize, having failed a year of medical school, how much more knowledge you have than any of us?
You will forget more than any of us will learn.
Now, I know that doesn't make you feel any better. But
It might.
I
We
know it
might have just fixed them.
it's like, yeah, at least I'm
They might
smarter
be
than
totally
these three assholes.
fixed.
But yeah, I mean, I've heard medical school is hard. Listen,
Giggity.
Yeah, and also, I think to put it in perspective, Ryder is young. I mean, they go
Yeah.
right out of high school into med school. So in America, you go to
18,
college.
19 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you go to college 4 years. This person got put into med school right away. And you think about that. That's like any of us failing or struggling in freshman year of college.
Yeah.
If freshman
remember-
year was fucking med
do you
school.
remember your
Right.
We were taking English 101 and stuff.
Do you remember your GPA your freshman year?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, I crashed.
I had a 1.68
Yikes!
my first semester.
Yeah.
This man
yeah.
is responsible for people, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You got better.
Yeah, I had a 4.0 by the time I graduated.
Dig
How?
yourself out of that trench.
Well, I mean, not cumulative.
No,
okay.
no. He means in one class.
Well, that math doesn't work.
Oh,
He
yeah.
aced PE on the way out.
Right.
Yeah.
That counted for something. But no, that's a great point. Like for this writer, the first thing I think you want to hear from us is that we relate to you. I lost my scholarships freshman year of college, and I was taking Comm 101, communications. I was taking philosophy.
Well, I mean,
Those were not hard
And you
classes.
weren't going to a
Yeah.
real school.
Yeah, well, no, I was going to UNLV freshman year.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Yeah. So it was
what
legit.
Volvo
like
do,
we
yeah.
said.
Yeah, I ain't not that much higher up the food chain.
But no, here's one thing that I learned. I realized in my freshman year that one thing high school never prepared me for
Mm,
was how to study.
yeah.
In
That
high
is-
school,
That is huge.
yeah, I
It's the number one thing you need to learn.
I didn't know that you had to learn how to study.
Yes.
Right? I just thought you just studied. But
And
it
also
wasn't-
how to study when you are only accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not living with the parents. You're not doing like
Yep.
you are accountable for your own time.
Yeah. I mean, so I think you deserve a little bit of a break there with that one.
Yeah.
Man, I mean that's a young age. You're really just kind of learning how to just be an adult. There's a
Right.
lot of stuff going on besides your education.
Yeah.
And you have to failure is a great teacher, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Like my first year, like when I got my GPA, first of all, I didn't really even know, like, is this bad? Like, should I be better than
Is
this?
this,
Like,
it's not okay?
Is this not okay?
I'm number one. I got a
what's-
1. Is that good?
what
Am I
are-
rank number 1?
What are the smart kids getting?
Yeah.
And then I'll figure that out from there. You know, and then I kind of realized like, oh shit, okay, I better kick it in gear. And then what I started doing is I started exploring new ways to study.
Yeah.
So one thing I did that was really helpful for me is I would take notes in class. Well, number one, I learned in college how important it is to read what's going to be covered before class.
Yeah.
Oh,
In
yeah.
high school, I never did that.
Yeah, no, you never need
I never
to.
read.
Nobody
I just go to
cares.
class.
No,
That's all you
get-
do.
Get an
Yeah.
idea of what's going to be talked about tomorrow
Yeah.
ahead of time. Huge.
Yeah. Oh, huge. And then what I would do is I would take notes in class.
Yeah.
And then right after class, I had a break before my next class. I would go through and I would rewrite my notes onto another notebook
Yeah.
because I could clean it up a little bit. I could
Sorted
use
the
different
notes.
colored pens
Right.
to highlight stuff. And that really helped kind of cement it into my head.
That's one of the most important things you got to learn in early higher education is how to teach yourself. Because when you're in high school, the majority of the time you can kind of just show up and wing it, you
Yeah.
know, if you're going to be a college, kind of bound high school student. But then a lot of the time you just show up and they give you what they want you to know.
Yep.
And that's what they put on the test. And it's just a different standard. And in
Also,
college,
you have
gotta
a
learn to
teacher
teach
who
yourself.
is invested in you.
Right. Yeah. They got
You're a
to
high
know
school
you. They see you
English
every
lit
day.
teacher, whoever it is. Like
Yeah.
that person is really invested in you.
Yeah.
They want you to succeed. They really
They
they're
see
rooting
180
for you.
days.
Yeah.
Your
Yes.
college professor don't remember your name.
No.
And so you've really got to teach yourself. And especially, here you are, writer, you're 18, 19 years old, you're walking into med school. Now, I realize you have peers that got it done, okay?
Mhm.
Okay, fine. But comparison is the thief of joy. It is going to be distracting. It is not helpful. And it doesn't matter. You got to run your own race here. Now, are you
Oh,
going to feel...
I'm not talking about the peers.
Yeah.
We're coming back to the peers.
We're coming back to the
Yeah,
peers.
yeah.
But I think Nick's point about learning to teach yourself is huge. The other thing you're telling us that I really love here is you're starting to make some headway with ADHD.
Mhm.
Now, medicine with ADHD makes a huge difference, but you also need to learn how to work with that particular brain style. And there's some really great workbooks out there that specifically take on this question. How do you learn with an ADHD brain? Because there are specific ways that you need to approach information that are going to be best for you. Like for me, and I don't identify as somebody with ADHD. I was diagnosed with it as a young kid, but I don't feel that was accurate. But like for me, when I had to learn in college, one of the ways I had to teach myself in college, I do not retain well things that I just read. If I silently read a textbook, I will get 5 pages in,
Okay.
and then if you stop me right there and say, Jim, what's the chapter about? That's gone. None of it stuck. Like it's just one breeze pushes it all back into the air. I have no clue. With all my heart, I will not know the answer.
Like
to that
Ben
question.
Affleck in Good Will Hunting being asked what class he was taking.
Yeah.
History.
History.
History?
Yeah.
You took a history
Yeah.
at Harvard? It's
Yeah.
just called history?
Just called history.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the chapter. History of Harvard. So no clue. But what I found for myself is, for whatever reason, and I guess it's good that I turned out to be a therapist, because I remember information extremely well if I hear it. And that has helped me a lot as a therapist because I'm listening all the time and people are telling me things and I'm remembering things like their cat's name or, what their last meal was. It just sticks to my brain. For whatever reason, my memory works. So I discovered with textbooks, I needed to read them out loud. And so what I would do is I would take a textbook and I would just walk. I would pace around a room or I'd go for a walk in a park. And if I walked and read out loud, or I would record myself reading the chapter, and then I would play that back in a pair of headphones and take a walk and listen to that. And then I was crushing just by doing that. And also outlining too, because if I'm writing the information and hearing it, that's when I retain it. But I give you that story, writer, because if you have an ADHD brain, you've got to learn how to teach your ADHD brain.
Did you actually walk while reading?
Not like going for a jog.
No, but like
You were
holding
moving
the
while
book
reading.
open, walking around reading.
Pacing in like circles.
Okay,
Yeah.
that counts. Because here's something that's really interesting. Movement is really tied closely to memory.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Because if you think about like go back to like early human beings, movement was necessary for survival.
Yeah.
Memory was necessary for survival.
You learned
I
on your
need
feet.
to remember
Yep.
how to run from this predator. I need to know which way I need to remember which path I need to take, what's
Yeah.
the fastest way out. So memory and movement are closely tied together.
That's what really helped me. And whenever I would record myself reading textbooks, then I would just go do whatever. So I'd read the textbook and it would take me all of 30 minutes just read on tape. But then I would go do like chores. I'd go grocery shopping, do my laundry, walk campus, and put on my headset and then just listen to myself reading them as best I could. And that's whenever it would soak
I like
in.
the idea of listening to yourself while
It helped.
walking
Yeah.
or something like that.
It was one of
If
the
you
ways I
can,
could do it.
yeah, I mean, if you can read and walk, great. Even better if you can ride a bicycle while reading, do that.
Yeah, or a unicycle.
Drive a
Unicycle.
car.
That's even better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could do all
know
these
what?
things. Construct a house,
Yes.
with the book
Operate
right
a crane.
Skydiving.
Operate a crane.
Yeah.
Heavy equipment.
Walking
Drive an
Walking a
ambulance.
tightrope.
None of these are bad
All
ideas.
of this.
This is what ADHD
Resuscitate a
brains
gunshot
can do.
victim.
Let's just start with the walking.
Yeah, maybe just the slight.
Okay,
Just
all
the
right.
walk.
To each
Yeah.
his
So
own.
circling back around to their peers, what did you think
So
about that?
I want to get to the peers, and I want to start here. I want to start with hearing your email, Nick. Just reading your email just now. You're worrying about a lot of different things. You're worrying about the ADHD, but you're also worrying about the grade point average. You're worrying about getting the testing done. You're worrying about all these different things. Worry about one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Pick a battle. I would say start with the ADHD. Sounds like you're already in that, which is great. So you pick that battle and you get to a point where you feel comfortable with that. And then start worrying about the smaller thing, because in getting through that is going to help you with all these other things too. Each little battle that you're going to have is going to help you further down the road. So you do all the things that Jim was just saying. Figure out how to teach yourself. Work with the ADHD medication and all the boy, I can't talk for some reason tonight. Work with the ADHD medication and all of the other things that you want to focus on dealing with that part of it. And then the other things will start to be easier.
Yeah.
As far as the peers go, you went to elementary school with a group of people. They don't matter.
Right.
You went to elementary school with them.
Yeah.
You went to and I don't know, in whatever country you're in, I don't know what your school system is like. But in the States, we have elementary school, we have junior high, we have high school, then we have college and grad school. Each kind of grouping of those people fall away out of your life. New people come in.
Yep.
I haven't seen the people that I went to high school with in decades.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep.
Every time you move on to a new group of people like that, every time you move on to a new schooling group, you realize that all of those people that you were just with yesterday, when you were doing that schooling before you graduated, you realize that all of those people don't matter to you at all.
Right.
I would love to be able to explain this to my high school age family members,
Right.
and college age family members for that matter, that all of these people that you really value their opinion right now. You're going to put on a cap and gown one day, and the next day you're not going to give two shits about their opinion.
For the rest of your life.
It will never matter to you again.
Never again.
So when I went back for my 20-year high school reunion,
Yeah.
there was something, I can't remember the situation, the circumstance. There was somebody in my class that I was talking to that he said something, and it wasn't like mean-spirited or anything like that, but it's something that just kind of jabbed at me a little bit. And I almost kind of laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Because
this is pathetic.
No, because in my head I was like, your opinion used to matter to me.
Yeah.
And that's so funny to me now.
Yeah.
Because now it's like,
you're invisible to me, man.
I've got a great career.
Don't
I live
care
in
about
Las
you.
Vegas. I have so much fun. I've got a great life. I don't think about you. I've never
Right.
thought about you.
Not even a little bit.
It's like
One day you
wow.
will put that cap and gown on
Yeah.
and realize that their opinions don't matter at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, fine, they passed the first year. Big fucking deal.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who passed the first year.
Yeah.
It matters who graduates. And then it matters who is good at what they do.
Right.
So worry about graduating. Worry about being good at what you do. Don't worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And I think that failing that first year again, my whole philosophy on failing is it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. I think that could have been the thing that you needed at that moment.
Yeah.
For you, it's kind of that wake up call, that kind of oh shit moment where you realize oh, I got to do something different.
Right.
And it forces you into doing something different. It forces you maybe into changing your study patterns, changing your perspective or whatever it is. But maybe that's what you needed in order to achieve success.
Right. Yeah.
You know? So
And I would suggest getting some help and in the nature of a tutor or someone like that, but not even necessarily to tutor you on the subject matter, but to tutor you on studying.
Yes. That's
To-
what's key.
Just tutor you on, find somebody who is really good in the classes and say, could you help me spend, a few days over the next month or so with me?
Yes.
I just want to know what it is that you do. What is
Yes.
your system?
And especially inside of the bubble
Mhm.
of ADD and ADHD resources. And actually, because I know a lot of the listeners that are at the Patreon side of the street of Pod Therapy are very active in gathering resources for this kind of stuff, I'm going to tell you right now, Ryder, here's what's going to happen. Here's what I want everybody to do. Ryder, I want you to go to patreon.com/therapy, put $1 in the stupid hat, go to the Patreon version of this episode. And then all of the theropods and therapals and all of you that are supporters, if you have any ADHD learning resources, study resources, organization resources,
Especially
you to-
online stuff because we don't know what country the writer's
especially
from.
online, but any resources, I want you to jump out of the Discord where we usually hang out and chat. I want you to get back on the Patreon. I want you to post the comments on this episode. So anybody out there, if you're out there in listener land, and you're thinking, man, I relate to this writer. I too am struggling with ADHD and ADD. We have so many listeners that between them have a vast database of resources. I'm telling you right now, because I've asked them to do this, go to patreon.com/therapy, jump onto this episode. There is going to be a database by the time you get there. Go, grab the resources, because you have got to learn in ways that complement your brain and your learning style. Now, circling back to what Jacob said, everything you said is absolutely correct when it comes to comparison thief of joy, getting these things wrong. And I really relate to this because for me, I was a late bloomer. I did college and I did very poorly freshman year, lost my scholarships, lost everything, didn't know what I was going to do, barely got out some credits out of the first year. And then I had to have like this internal dialogue about what I wanted to study. What would I find interesting enough to study for 4 years and get through it? I didn't like psychology. I had tried business. I had tried comm. I tried all these different classes, business, philosophy. I couldn't find anything that I found really interesting. But at the time...
My name's Jim Jobin. I studied business.
business, good at business. At the time, I was interested in religion. So I ended up switching schools, studying religion. Fine, it's been the butt of many jokes. But I did it. I got through college, and like that was
But
good
nobody
for me.
makes fun of him for anything but his age.
Yeah, only for my age. Sitting in
yeah.
lawn chairs and guys on mopeds giving me a hard time.
He's walking around reading a book out loud, but nobody makes fun of him for anything but his age.
I fell a year behind because of that. And then later, I didn't go to grad school right after undergrad. A lot of people did. And so when I got into grad school, I was like 5 years behind my other people. And that was hard for me because when I was a student intern and doing my practicums, my peers, people that were also doing that, they were 5, 6 years younger than me. They were all right out of college, got right into grad school. Most of them had never had a family, never had a job, never got married, never had any kids. And here I was, 5, 6 years older than them in a whole different phase of life. Didn't feel like I belonged. Felt like, I was a step behind, like I was illegitimate. And they were young and sharp and smart. And like they were all this momentum. And I was like learning how to go to college all over again. Like I felt like a fish out of water because I was a non-traditional student.
But the
you know
question
what?
is, after it's done, did that matter at all?
Not only did it not matter, Ryder, but I feel I'm better for it. For me, my path, I think, made me different than my colleagues, different than my peers.
A little bit of struggle can help you out.
It really did because I was a different kind of therapist. I studied differently. I thought differently. I just didn't have the same wavelength that these people did. And I think it ultimately allowed me to be a different therapist than them. And that allowed me to be, in some situations, better and a preferred therapist than some of my colleagues. And so, honestly, Ryder, you never know what hardships you're going to go through in life, like this first year, that may one day actually make you better at your career because of that experience. It did for me. I was a late bloomer. I had tons of stalls. It actually improved me. Getting a whole bachelor's degree and nothing that has anything to fucking do with my career could have been like a huge waste of time. I feel like in many ways it gave me a lot of insight into humanity, and I carry that with me today. So you never know what detours and what scenic route you're going to take toward the goal and whether it's going to actually improve your life.
And it's been great fodder for this podcast.
I mean, how many yucks have we gotten out of that? I mean,
Nick
worth
and I
the
have gotten
debt.
quite a few.
Yeah, worth
Priceless.
the crippling debt.
Yes.
Also, everybody, if you have student loans, don't forget the Biden administration is now taking your applications to forgive those loans. I think it's like studentaidforgiveness.gov.
Man,
I don't know.
you are
Google
good at
it.
stuff.
Just Google it. Just Google where to go.
Nick Tangeman here at least knew how to plug his own website.
mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
We're working on the jingle. But go find that. Just make sure it ends in .gov because that way you know it's somewhat more legitimate. Get those applications in because they expire in December, and you got to get them in. So get that student loan forgiveness. We are going to take...
Although they expired December of 23.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you had until the end of 23.
I think you have December to 22. I
Okay.
think it's a 2-month window to get them in.
I think that's when they want you to get them in.
Okay.
Look it up.
There's no way. There's no way to know for sure.
Yeah.
Do not take our word for this.
We'll have to just take it to God.
I'll tell you after we come back from the break.
There's things we'll ask God when we die. This is one of them. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss being confused about asexuality. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dawn, Malia, Richard Macy, Newstick, Polygon, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, and Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop. If you'd like to join the Theraproducers, go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up, and you get to hear your name said at times like this. Our trivia this week, because by the time this airs, we're going to be gearing up for Halloween.
Yeah.
Scary movies.
You guys want to guess what my costume is this year?
Nope.
Not
All
at
right.
all.
Which movies
But I
released?
will make fun of it.
Yeah.
Which
It's
movies?
because I'm old, isn't it? Is that what this is?
I
I've hit the age now where you can just openly mock me.
Your
Like
mustache
Mr.
looks
Magoo.
terrible.
The punchline of every
We've been
joke.
making fun of your mustache for years.
Nah, it's because of my age.
Which movie's release date was closest to The Shining?
Oh.
A. Carrie. B. Halloween. C. The Omen. Or D. Friday the 13th.
Wow.
I'm going to go with The Omen.
I want The Omen too.
Okay.
I do feel good about The Omen. I want to pick another one just to keep it competitive.
I'll share The
But
Omen
I
with you.
feel it is The Omen. And all of my logic is that the clothing I remember people wearing in The Omen.
That's my only thing.
Is that your logic too?
Yep, that's
it
it.
just resembles Jack Nicholson.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I'm just looking
all I got.
I'm looking for 70s clothing
That's
in
it.
my mind.
That's all I've got. It
Yep.
just feels like the hairdos and the clothing match.
So you both want to be wrong. is
That's
what
right.
I'm
That's where
hearing.
we're
And
headed.
we're both going Omen.
Okay.
Feels like a good Omen.
Because you're both wrong.
He did warn
I'll
us.
even give you another shot.
Oh.
All right. What it was
Carrie.
Carrie.
Halloween. Friday the 13th.
I mean, Halloween's got to be the 80s, man. Because H2O came
Yeah, I'm
out. It
going-
was the 20-year anniversary. It was like 2005.
Oh, you know what? I'll go with Carrie
Okay.
because isn't that another Stephen King novel?
Oh, yeah. Aren't they all? I assume what we're in right now is
Friday the
probably Stephen
13th is
King.
not.
Probably is, man.
Halloween is not.
It probably is.
I think Carrie and The Shining are both. I know The Shining is, and I believe Carrie is also another Stephen King
Feels
novel.
like that would make it
So you wanna
less
go with
like
Carrie.
I'm going
at the
Carrie.
same time.
For
All right,
your
I'm throwing away
option B.
Halloween. I don't think that's it because I remember the H2O thing.
So it's definitely going to be Halloween.
I
now.
think it's going to be Friday the 13th.
All right.
But I still feel like it's The Omen and that you're lying because that still checks out. The costumes
That'd
were
be a
similar.
weird play right now.
Yeah. You know what? You
now-
were right. You doubled down. You get 2 points.
you are both wrong.
Again?
No. Officially.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The
yeah.
second chance was just a
You're
funsies.
yes.
All right.
Rebound is
It was a
the
mulligan.
clock has
All right.
stopped.
It's a mulligan, but
You're
it
just
doesn't count.
throwing the ball at the net.
It is Friday the 13th.
Oh, all right.
Here's what's crazy.
Wait, did I get that?
Yes.
Oh, that's why you disclaimed it because you knew I'd try to
Yes.
prance around and take a point.
Yeah. I wanted to rob
I
you
was
of
wondering
that
why
joy.
are you like passionately taking that position?
Friday the 13th came out in May of 1980. The Shining came out in June of 1980.
Wow.
Oh, see, there's my problem. I thought Shining came out earlier than that.
But but your logic was solid because like I was shocked when I found that out because I always associate that as like 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would think it would be like right around
I definitely thought like 76.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was 1980. Crazy.
Huh. See, now a bunch of movies are in my head, but I won't say them out loud because they may be associated with the next question. I assume it's this theme for the next question.
No, it's not.
Oh, so like Big Trouble in Little China.
Uh-huh.
That feels like around the same time. And also The Exorcist also feels like that would be around the same time.
Okay.
Oh, The Exorcist was way earlier, I believe.
Was it?
I feel like it was.
Like early?
1926.
Wow. Charlie Chaplin's
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. That would be
That'd
be a little less scary. a little less scary, I think.
Yes. I need an old priest and a young priest.
Borrowers can apply. I don't know why I can't talk tonight.
You're doing
Borrowers can apply for forgiveness anytime before December 31st, 2023.
Oh, good. So there's quite the window.
You got some time.
Yeah.
But
don't
they
hesitate.
They are
Get on it.
encouraging you to get your application in before the end of 22.
Yeah. Get them in before the states sue to stop it. That way they can only stop future people and not you. So get in fast.
The Exorcist, 1973.
So that's right there.
Oh, it's 7 years earlier, but yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that feels right. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, yeah. People were back in the early 70s doing the upside down crab walk downstairs. It was all the rage. All the kids were doing that.
Yeah.
It was the dance. It was the popular dance.
It was the
for
most
prom
popular
that
dance.
year.
I remember at Beach
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah.
All these kids upside down crab walking up and down the beach,
Yeah.
screaming.
Projectile vomiting.
Projectile vomiting.
Masturbating with crucifix.
Yeah.
All the kids
that.
were doing it.
All
Yeah.
that.
I wish they all could be California girls. Confused about asexuality from Anonymous. Back in episode 232, you had a female letter writer who described how she had come to the realization that she was asexual and dealing with that in her marriage. This struck a chord with me since I feel like I may be on the opposite side of this with having a partner who may be asexual but has just not come to that realization themselves. We are both in individual as well as couples therapy right now, but the asexual issue brought up some bigger questions that I have and hoped you might have some insight on. I've anecdotally heard from others in similar situations, and of course there are many forums and reports online where one partner in the marriage seemingly goes from being normally interested in sex, and then at some point in the marriage that changes to almost total non-interest in sex. Since I'm the person who is still interested in sexual activity, the behavior is confusing and feels hurtful. I noticed with the caller, they mentioned the 3 possible outcomes of either the other partner just accepting this new change, ending the relationship, or allowing the other partner to fill that sexual need elsewhere. But the caller mentioned that allowing the partner who still wants sex to fill that need elsewhere is not acceptable and taking that option off the table. I believe in my own and likely many similar relationships, that option is also taken off the table by the no libido or asexual partner. Setting aside whether that would be a viable option on my end, it is odd that if the person is truly asexual, they would care at all if sexual needs were handled by someone else. I mean, I'm a baseball, but if my partner was into it, I would never restrict them from going and playing or watching with their friends, because I just don't care about baseball. So if a person is asexual and really doesn't care or desire sex, then why would they feel the need to enforce the other partner to become asexual as well, in a sense? It just doesn't add up to me and makes me question in these situations if they're really asexual at all, because they do seem to care about sex. They don't want it, and they don't want the partner to have it with anyone else. Honestly, from the other side, it doesn't feel like asexuality. Honestly, from the other side, it doesn't feel like a sexuality issue at all. It feels like a controlling spouse who is using one of the things that is only supplied within the monogamous relationship as a tool of power over their partner. If that was available elsewhere, they would suddenly lose that control. Why else prevent them from filling that need from someone else? Also, at least in my case, I think if the relationship ended, that it's likely my partner would go back to being sexual in the new relationships, at least in the beginning, as happened in ours, because it would be unlikely for them to find a partner who would be willing to commit with no or limited sex. Do you have any insight from counseling asexual people in similar situations that leave the relationship and then end up moving on to new ones? Do they go back to their normal sexual activity and basically become not asexual again for a period of some time? And if so, doesn't that mean that this is not real asexuality and really something else that could have been worked on the initial relationship? Wanted to finish with saying, I totally believe that asexuality exists, and that people's orientation and preferences may not be figured out until later in life. But this scenario feels like something different, as I haven't known any of these asexual partners who would then declare that going forward in new relationships that they were asexual and looking for limited sex. If that occurred, it would make more sense the same way as a partner determining that they were homosexual, and then going forward, they sought out same-sex partners. Anyway, thanks for your help. Hope I've made some sense. Confused about asexuality. I guess instead of the name Anonymous, we're going with confused. We'll call the writer confused.
All right.
All right, so there's a lot there. Okay, so one thing that I kind of wanted to touch on real quick, as far as what asexuality means, 'cause you bring up some really solid points. And I have to admit, just be very upfront with full disclosure, my lack of experience in this. I've not counseled any asexual people. So as far as like clinical expertise in this area, I don't really have that experience. But there's a lot of stuff that you bring up that I'm sitting here thinking about it, listening. I'm like, yeah, it's a solid point. It does kind of feel like a little bit of like a controlling mechanism thing. And I do get your point of, hey, if you're asexual, then why does it matter to you if I'm having sex with someone else? But on the opposite side of that, I think there is an argument to be made that there may be a difference between the sexuality and the intimacy. So maybe it's not so much they have an issue with the sexuality part. It's the you being intimate with another person part, which becomes very difficult to separate those two, sex and intimacy. Yeah. That's my first thought.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of layers to this.
I got a thought in there that by that logic, you would say that people who have more sex with each other have a more monogamous relationship than people who have less sex. So if a couple has sex daily versus another couple that has sex weekly, well, now is the daily sex having couple 7 times as monogamous as the weekly sex having couple? And I would say, of course not.
Right.
I think you're confusing sexuality with having an intimate and trusting relationship.
Yeah.
It's not just sex.
Right.
To me, I mean,
I get that.
to be perfectly honest, I feel like the writer is kind of asking us for permission to get out of this relationship.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about what the question beneath the question.
Yeah.
Because at the surface level, writer, I think you're asking an academic conversation about asexuality.
Right.
In my view, and I mean this very gentle spirit, because I believe that you wrote this in good faith. I do not think you wrote this tongue-in-cheek. I think that you sincerely are writing into a show that you listen to, and you're saying, hey, this word hits my ears this way. Can you help disentangle it? So I will approach you with that good spirit kind of nature, and I want to try to disentangle it. For me, writer, when I hear asexuality, I think what we need to appreciate about that is that we're not talking about just the feelings toward all sex, right? Because asex is not atheism, right? It's like if I said, oh, how do you feel about Hinduism? I feel the same way about Hinduism as I feel about Christianity, right? Because I'm just atheist, right? So I don't care. All of it's irrelevant to me.
Right.
That would be a misnomer for what asexuality is. It is not agnosticism about sexuality or indifference to sexuality. It is a disinterest in personal participation in sexuality. That doesn't mean they have no interest whatsoever in your sexuality. This is your baseball metaphor, where you're like, oh, if you say you don't care about baseball, then what do you care if I go to baseball? Okay, you lose track of the concept when you start comparing it, because now it's apples and oranges when you start doing this baseball thing.
I think it's apples and oranges before you get to the baseball thing.
Probably.
I think it's apples and oranges when you're saying when you are equating sex and relationship.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it.
Yes.
That's where I'm going.
Okay, please.
Because this person is a stakeholder in your life.
Yeah.
For more reasons than what genitals touch what other genitals in your relationship. You have a monogamous, agreed upon intimacy, and therefore they have some sort of claim to monopoly over a lot of aspects of you. At least that seems to be the agreement of monogamy, right?
Right.
So they're interested in your sex, they're interested in your emotion, they're interested in your relational connection with other people, and they have thoughts on that, right? They have opinions about that. They are not indifferent to sexuality.
Yeah.
They're still greatly influenced and affected by both their own sexuality and yours and other people's interacting with your relationship. So I think that's where we need to take asexuality and understand it differently as more of a personal desire. It is a very low libido and a almost absent need for sexuality. One who is asexual does not find themselves desiring it, craving it, pursuing it, seeking it, or needing it for strong bonding or healthy relationship. They don't necessarily feel often deprived of it. Now, that's still not to say that they'll never, ever have sex ever again, which is another thing I think we're making a mistake about here, Ryder, where we're trying to create like golden rules to govern this. Like,
Right.
and that's where it almost reminds me of like religious debates, because it's like, oh, no, you said you're a Mormon. That means you believe this. It's like, I'll tell you what I believe. Like, ask me questions. And if a person or the last writer says, hey, look, I'm asexual, they get to define what that means to
Right.
them. And that's an important rule too, right? Because a lot of times with sexuality, somebody says, look, I'm this. And we go, okay, so you're this. So that's what you are, right? And it's like, stop. Ask me questions.
Yes.
Ask me my desires. Ask me what I'm into, what I'm not into. I identify as mostly this, or
Right.
whatever. That you're not going to trap me into a prison here of some golden rule. So that would be one of my first comments on this question of defining this concept of asexuality.
And the controlling part, yes, your partner has control over you.
Yeah, they're
Part of being-
stakeholder.
Yes,
Yeah.
part of being in a relationship with anyone, not just a romantic partner, but close friends, anyone else. Everyone that you're in a relationship with has a measure of control over you.
Right.
That's part of being in a relationship, is giving up
Right.
part of that control.
Yeah. Take your baseball metaphor, which again is broken metaphor, and I've already tried to tell you why I don't think that works here.
But go back to
let's,
it anyway,
Let's
it's
run
fine.
with it anyway because we can. Jacob is my boyfriend, and we're together. He likes
Mm-hmm.
sports, and I don't. And he says, I'm going to go to the game. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, why are you pouty, Jim? Why do you care? You don't even like sports. I like you. Why don't you want to be with me? Why are you going with Nick to the baseball game?
Right.
Well, because I like sports and you don't, and so you should be agnostic about this. I'm not. I'm sensing an absence of you in my relationship, and I'm witnessing you bonding with another person doing something I don't relate to. That does affect me. Now, we're allowed to have a candid conversation about that, and Jacob's allowed to say, Jim, I need this in my life, and that's not something you're interested in. We need to talk about both of us getting our needs met. Fine. That becomes a very rich and complex conversation.
Yeah.
But this reductionist kind of mathematics, and again, not insulting you, Ryder. I believe you wrote it in good faith. I'm trying to greet you with good faith. But this is why I don't think the definitions of the way we're thinking about this really apply. I don't think it gets to the truth of it.
Yeah. Now, I do want to come alongside and empathize with this position.
Yeah.
This is a very tough position to be in.
Of course.
Now let's
and
talk
I
about
do
the
think
unanswered question, the question beneath the question.
Yeah, and one thing that I actually, as Jim was reading this, I was following along and I highlighted one thing, which is the behavior is confusing and feels hurtful.
Yeah.
And I think that piece says a lot right there. From it explains to me a big part of your perception of this, which is that almost intense. It because it's hard to not take it personally, right? If the person is if your partner is asexual, to have that thought of like, would they still be asexual with someone else, or is this about me? Right. It's
Well, especially the writer says, look, you didn't used to be,
yeah.
and now you are. And there's a part of me that understands, okay, a person can reach a realization later in life. I want to leave room for that. But we cannot just have an academic conversation about this. This is my life.
Right.
That's what I hear the writer saying. This is not just merely academic for me. My partner doesn't desire me anymore. That is debilitating. that is deeply rejecting. That is
Sure.
very hurtful. It is frustrating, and it is deeply existentially confusing, because then I have to wonder, what do we do now? And would you be with somebody else? And I think you would. I think that you would rejuvenate your sexual interest. And the writer says why. The writer doesn't say that it would come by authentically. The writer says, be out of necessity, you would rediscover sexual tolerances or interests, because you would rarely find a relationship that would be available without some sexual connection, and therefore I suspect then you would rediscover your sexuality. But here we are, our relationship in the death throes are struggling, and we can't rediscover sexuality to save our own lives. And that I've seen that scenario in couples counseling, where I've seen the position of the writer where they're saying, I have no doubt that if we divorce and in a year you've healed from this and you're dating again, suddenly you will find tolerance for sexuality to welcome and accommodate new partners. But you can't tolerate sexuality with me, your established partner who loves you very much. And even if it means our relationship dies right here, you still won't rediscover your sexual interest toward me or tolerance toward me. And I appreciate why that is deeply, deeply confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It is very emotional. And there's not a clear answer to this,
No.
And I like that writer is in therapy. I like that writer's spouse is in therapy. I like that they're in couples therapy. I want us to be able to approach that writer always from a position of stating our needs.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to get to next. I think is Jim said you're already in couples counseling. I think that's kind of the path forward. My only advice to you would be just be mindful of how you're communicating things.
That's everything.
You know,
Yes.
you can't. You don't want to go into this saying you do this or you feel this way or you're asexual or you are blank. What you do say is you say how you feel.
Right.
Like, from my perspective, this is what it seems like is happening. This is how I feel. I feel like blank. And you can own that, and no one can say, no, you don't. That's
Right.
not true. You don't feel that way. You get to own your own truth, and you get to communicate that. And I think that's what's going to be most beneficial in working towards a solution with this.
Whenever I talk to couples about sexuality, if there's a member of the couple that is trying to communicate that they desire more sex, or that they feel it's absent from the relationship, or whatever, that for whatever reason there's a mismatch and they are the party that wants to see it increase, one of the things I always want them to do, I want them to say more than just phrases like, I want sex, or here are your crimes, here's all the times you've denied me, here's all the times I've made efforts. I don't like us just talking about sex as a commodity. I want
Right.
you to help your partner understand what sex does for you relationally.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
piece of this puzzle that brings it full circle. Because even though they may be asexual suddenly, and you've also told us your partner didn't say that explicitly, but let's assume that they've achieved that state, they're kind of asexual. That doesn't mean that they're a-relational. They may deeply love you and desire relationship with you. And so it's very important that you translate what's going on with you into that relational realm, to look your partner in the eyes and say, for me, when we are sexually intimate, I feel bonded to you. I feel closer to you. I feel safe with you. I think of you warmly. I feel liked by you. And I feel like I'm where I belong. I'm where I belong in our relationship. I'm not wondering if anybody out there sees value in me. I feel like you see value in me. And that means something to me, and it makes me just want to be with you, and I feel connected to you. My connectedness is influenced by our sexual contact and your sexual interest in me. And this asexuality sometimes communicates rejection, and I can't tell you how disconnected that makes me feel from you. It makes me feel like we are roommates and friends, and we're losing contact in that more romantic, personal way that separates us from merely friends or roommates and makes us partners. That's different to me, and that this is part of the recipe for how I achieve that. Teach your partner that connection that sex is for you. That translates differently than merely saying, I'm horny, you've rejected me, I need sex, these are, we just want to get really good at languaging it.
Yeah, there may be a path forward in this relationship. There may be a common ground that the two of you can find, but you're not going to find it until you're able to communicate openly in that situation.
Yeah. Yep. Those are the clear guidelines. Writer, it's a really tough one. And, again, I believe with all my heart you wrote in as a person who's going through a really personal process. It is hard. It is something a lot of people have gone through. And I think you're trying to make sense of new language. You're trying to leave room to be understanding and to appreciate that humans change and maybe your partner is changing. But you're also trying to say, and we also signed up for something that doesn't look like this. So how do we make all this work together? I don't have an answer for that, writer, but I hear your emotions through your letter. And I really just want to encourage you, circle back into that therapy as much as you can. Find compassionate, accurate language that portrays all these missing elements of your relationship fundamentally and firstly as connection issues. That translates better toward your needs. I think you'll find what you're looking for. But great question, writer, and thank you for writing in. I think you did it in a very thoughtful way, and I thought you did it in the correct way. Definitely heard what you were trying to say. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, this is great, being a sad know-it-all. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Wah, wah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Benton, Malia, Richard Macy, New Stick, Polygon, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, and Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop. And if you would like to sponsor the show, head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up to be a producer. Our second question about scary movies is, excuse me, despite the exterior scenes being shot in Oregon, the Overlook Hotel in The Shining was said to be in this state.
I got it.
You do not have multiple choice. You just got to know.
Colorado.
Man, I haven't seen The Shining in so long. Connecticut.
It was Colorado.
Yeah.
Hell yeah!
Now,
Dunk!
for double the points.
Oh,
All right.
shit.
Where were the exterior scenes actually shot, which is the state I said in the question?
Fuck, I didn't listen. I have no clue.
Remember earlier when Jim said if he heard something, he remembered it?
Yep.
Oregon. Oregon.
Okay. All right. Good job. Good job.
Did I get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah! Jobin grabs the ball, slams it into the rim, bitches!
Slam seems like a strong term.
Yeah. I don't know.
Dunk! Dunk!
Well questioned, Nick Tangeman. Well questioned.
I'm telling you, man. I can ask my memory, what did you just hear? And it will pull up. I don't consciously know the answer, but somewhere in the folds of my brain, there's a listening neuron that's like, I got it. He said Oregon.
That's consciously.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how the miracle of shit works.
No.
All I know is I got a little Jiminy Cricket in the back of my head that whispers answers to me. It's fantastic. Who knows? Being a sad know-it-all from Anonymous. Hey guys, love the show. Don't stop. It's so good. Oh baby, please don't stop. End of letter.
Thank you.
That's all the time we got for this week's episode.
We're going to get more like that.
Yeah.
I'm a guy in my 30s, recently diagnosed with ADHD. Yay! An explanation for why everything is so difficult. Meds have certainly helped, but what helps more than anything is rigorous exercise.
Yes.
There you go. There's one for Nick. I've read Spark by John Rady, as Nick recommended on the show at some point, and I get the science behind why exercise helps. More importantly, I always feel better after having exercised. Between biking, hiking, swimming, hockey, soccer, weightlifting, my recent discovery of pickleball, and all sorts of things in between, there's tons of exercise that I actually enjoy, except running. Fuck running. My body my body craves exercise, and I know I'm going to feel better after. So, how the hell do I just get up and do it? It's such a struggle, pretty much every time. I'm in pretty good shape and quite happy with where my body is today, though I'd still like to put on some more muscle. I have weights at home now, so that I can't use distance from the gym as an excuse to not lift. That worked really well for a while. I also figured out that if I put my headphones in and play certain songs, it's almost guaranteed that I'll get dressed and lift weights. So I just don't put my headphones in. I haven't lifted in months. I love hockey, but I'm super competitive or something and hate losing, so sometimes I come home feeling even worse. I'm not as good at it as I wish I was, so my brain says, I suck, my team sucks, I'm tired of losing, and it's way past my bedtime, and I'm going to be cranky tomorrow. Occasionally, trying to highlight things that went well after each shift has helped. Thanks, therapy. But there's a limit. This has been my experience with multiple teams across multiple sports. I've had a very hard time framing it as something that I do to exert myself to benefit my overall health. Fuck that noise. I also want to win. I figured out that if I get up earlier in the morning, which my brain has been doing against my will anyway, that I have more time for exercise and fewer excuses. Mornings are now spent languishing over not having gone for a bike ride yet, even though my body is craving it. I can go hours having done nothing or next to nothing, and then it's time for work from home, and I'm cranky. What gives? Who's even in charge here? Same with yoga. I know that it helps clear my head, and I feel refreshed and relaxed, even after only 5 to 10 minutes of some at-home work. Too bad, because I simply won't do that either. Pickleball only runs at inconvenient times unless you're retired, but WFH? I don't know what that means. And can make my own work from home. And can make my own schedule as long as the work gets done. Too bad, because we're going to languish, baby. On and on it goes. You get the idea. I've tried compassion and forgiving myself for skipping workouts. I've tried reframing it such that 5 to 10 minutes of jumping jacks or running up the stairs is better than nothing. I had a meltdown trying to skip because I sucked at it. I got more than zero exercise, but not enough to consistently feel good. That, of course, makes it harder to sleep. I know everything about sleep hygiene. I just don't practice it well enough. And of course, you know what happens when you don't sleep well, especially with ADHD. Thanks for reading my rambly spiral. What do I do? Anonymous. This is a really good question, and it really aligns with everything that you're working on. Because what I'm really hearing this writer say is, look, I'm a believer. I get it. I know all the things. I know that exercise works for me. In fact, I enjoy it. It passes that threshold. I crave it. I benefit from it. I'm a believer. And I'm still stuck for a variety of reasons. With sports, I care too much, so that becomes emotional for me, which is unpleasant. There's times when I could do this and I just fail to. There's times whenever I judge myself. There's times when I encourage myself. Man, this writer's talking about hitting that wall, despite being a very willing participant and believing in the process. But still, even a person like this finds that slump. It's really hard to get out of.
Dr. Phil once said,
Do a Dr. Phil
I think I'm
impression,
done. I think I'm done with the show.
Raised it.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
No, but he did say once, when we know better, we do better. And I said, not necessarily.
Yeah, fuck you, Dr. Phil.
Because here's an example.
Oh, good. That quote took a good turn. Good.
Yes.
I'm back on your team again.
Because knowing better doesn't necessarily mean we do better.
No.
So Anonymous is right. Like,
I know better for everything.
Yeah.
That I do.
I know I shouldn't eat this.
Yeah.
I know I should drink this.
But like, this
I'm
is
gonna
a
do it
good
anyway.
example. There's so many people I think that relate to this. Like so Anonymous has seen the benefits, has reaped the benefits of this, yet it's still difficult to actually do. Right. So there's a lot of things in here that we could talk about. But first, I think let's just start with kind of that motivation piece. And I wish that there was some kind of magical answer to this. And there isn't, that I've been able to find. It really just comes down, and it's funny because I actually just posted something about this in the TheraFit Buddies Discord.
Oh, okay.
Because I missed an entire week at the gym. And my sister was in town all last week. In the middle of that, I also had a trip up to Reno. I don't do good exercising when I'm on the road. I got so much stuff going on. My schedule is really, really packed tight. So I don't get good workouts in. And so I missed an entire week. And what I had posted in there is that there was a time in the past where I would kind of get upset with myself about that, but I don't anymore. Like it does not bother me a bit to miss an entire week's workout because what I have is I've got history. I've developed a pattern. I've been doing this regularly since 2015, right? I have 100% confidence that this doesn't throw me off.
Right.
So I talk a lot about, in a lot of the stuff that I do with my coaching and my fitness stuff, I talk a lot about the difference between patterns and anomalies. Okay. We have to start looking at things as being developing patterns so that things like this become the anomalies.
Oh, okay.
So for you, let's just use
You
Jim
can pick
as an
on
example.
Jim. That's fine. I set myself up.
He's so old.
You
see?
you
bags
going
under
to
my eyes.
Pilates is not a pattern.
Yeah,
That's
the
an anomaly.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
You going to the gym is not a pattern.
It's still an anomaly.
That's an anomaly.
Yeah.
All right. So we have to, there will become a time where that flip flops and it
Right.
goes the other way, where you going to the gym becomes the pattern
Yeah.
and you missing becomes the anomaly.
Right.
And there's no magical way of doing this. It's just time. It's
Yeah.
just consistency. And it's just, you have to find little things that make it easier. All right. So Anonymous has talked about music, some songs, get Anonymous, I don't know your gender, sorry, motivated.
Yeah.
Right. Times of the day. Right. I can't work out.
Morning.
I can't work out in the afternoon. I definitely can't work out in the evenings.
Okay.
I have to do it in the morning. That's just, it works out best for me. Setting all these other things. So like you set everything up so that you make it as easy as you possibly can for this thing to happen.
Lay out your gym clothes
Exactly.
the night before. Make it
You
easy
just
for
gotta
yourself.
you gotta think of all the possible obstacles and you do everything you can to create roadblocks so that those obstacles don't get in the way when it comes time to perform the movement, the
Right.
exercise, right? So you got to make it as easy as you can, and then you just
And
continue
Anonymous
to do
did that in so many ways.
Mhm.
Brought the kettlebells home, made sure that we could do that from home. That way, the distance wasn't an obstacle anymore.
Mhm.
Identified music that gets the blood pumping already. Identified waking up early because my brain's already awake. I may as well be awake, and it would work really well for me. And like getting involved in sports, signing up for the sport,
Mhm.
because now I feel obligated to go, and I guess I'm going to, and now I'm doing all the workout. There are so many pieces of this that you can see Anonymous doing exactly the right thing. And I think what I'm hearing you say is, let's start by celebrating that, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's a lot here that you're doing
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
And it's allowed to still be a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to allow for that struggle.
Mm.
It's and that's the other thing that I put in my post is like, I mean, even though I've been doing this for several years, I'm still going to struggle. I'm still going to have moments where like, oh man, I just really want to sleep in. I don't want to go today. And that's fine.
Right.
Like that's normal. We all have struggles like that.
Mhm.
Here's another thing that you can try too is accountability.
Mm.
Like one thing that actually I think has been very helpful on our Discord is everybody checking in
Mm.
and everybody saying like, hey, I went to the gym today. This is my workout. This is what I did. Or people going on the Discord and saying, hey, I can't seem to get myself motivated today.
Even talking about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And everybody jumps in and everybody is like providing some encouragement and hey, let's go. Let's, I'm not feeling good either. I'll go if you go,
Wow.
and like that accountability can be that extra thing that pushes you over into actually taking action.
Mm.
So
I love that.
For instance, I know how I can get Nick to go to the gym a lot this week.
Okay.
And that is to simply point out that, wait, did I say Nick or Jim?
Yeah.
Jim,
Yeah.
you said Nick.
Oh, yeah. How I can get Nick to go to the gym a lot this
okay.
week.
All
Yeah.
right.
And that is by pointing out to him that Jim went to the gym
Oh, yeah, yeah,
more
yeah,
than
yeah.
he did last week.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jim
Yeah.
Jobin is the
Yeah.
stick.
I've got one big week on him.
Yeah.
52 weeks. I got one.
Yeah.
He gets 51 and one goes to
But
me.
hey, We
Yeah.
only started keeping track this week.
Yeah.
So right now
I'm up.
you're crushing it.
I'm up. Well,
I
also,
feel like going to the gym right now.
Yeah. Better luck
Nick
next
is
year,
leaving right
Tanjamin.
now.
Maybe you'll have an all-win next year, you
Yeah.
know, but unfortunately 1 week got away from you.
Yep.
I did Pilates. You're a fat bitch, I think is what we're trying to get to. No, but this is some really good insights here. And you know, the only thing I would contribute to that is I think sometimes, so like when we talk about health and physical health and fitness stuff, I think a lot of us mostly think in aspirational terms.
Mhm.
Here's the body I hope I have. Here's the goal weight that I have, or a goal health, or a goal frequency, or a max. We have all these aspirational targets, right? These metrics. I think that's fine. I don't have any beef with any of that. But sometimes that can cause us to always feel less than our goal, and sometimes misperceive progress or the fact that we haven't regressed into other ways. Sometimes, like writer Anonymous says, look, I'm actually comfortable, like my body.
Mhm.
I feel healthy enough for where I want to be in my life right now. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. I'm not trying to be the next draftee in hockey. I'm actually good. I just want to do a little bit better. You know, I want to be consistent. And mostly I'm just grousing about how I do care very much about fitness and how it has been really good for my mental health. And yet here I am, it slips through my fingers like sand sometimes. And you guys are the show I should write into about that. Perfectly fine. But what I think we sometimes fail to appreciate is that for many of us, if we were to regress in our physical health, start gaining an excessive amount of weight, really notice way too much stagnancy, things like that, a lot of times we will naturally step back away from that other extreme toward the mean. So like for me, if I start getting too heavy, I don't need to go gangbusters on working out to drop the extra weight. That's not my default weight. My default weight's a different number. I'm getting too heavy in those circumstances. I will naturally start to feel unhappy with that, and I will start naturally just doing a little bit more and eating a little bit less and being more appropriate. I will not hit a goal weight, an aspirational weight of dropping 45 pounds, but I'll drop the 15 that I picked up during the holidays, and I'll kind of back into my mean. Now, that's probably not what I want to live in for the rest of my life, and I have health goals that are aspirational. But when it comes to right-sizing what a default position is, I think sometimes we do need to appreciate that many of us self-correct away from more self-destructive or worse patterns, and that's good too. Like, at least we can count on ourselves to steer back onto the road. And maybe we're still not hitting those goals, but we're still doing it. And that's kind of what I notice in Anonymous's letter. Like, I'm playing hockey. I get frustrated, though, and then I switch sports. And I try this, and I do some kettlebells, and I kind of don't do well with it. But then I do this other thing. And it's like, okay, there is a pattern there, right? Going back to your point about pattern and anomaly. Your pattern, your default, is actually serving you pretty well. You're pretty comfortable with where you're at. Could you get more muscular, as Anonymous says he would aspirationally like to do? Yes, but you're doing fine. And I think that sometimes we need to do a better job sometimes of speaking to that. There's a right-sized way to do it, because there's also an unhealthy way to do it, which says don't bother doing anything for yourself, love yourself. And, you know, I think there are some people in clinical depression that need that message right now. That's fine. But we shouldn't see these as two different things. There is not a mind and a body. There is mind-body. It is one big whole thing of meat. And so, like, we've got to just attend to all of it. But I guess I just want to make room for why that's also healthy too. And I think Anonymous demonstrates that, hey, my stumbling, bumbling, stagnant, on again, off again thing is also working in the big picture. I tend to gravitate away from ill health. I tend to be doing okay. As frustrating as all this is, as often as the sand slips through my fingers. And so that I'm not telling you to like have a touchdown dance and celebrate, but I am trying to right size what you might be characterizing as defeat as fine. You're doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too that kind of reminds me of when we're talking about like the hockey example, you know, like I think a lot of that also has to do with like your perspective on things. Like it's called a highlight reel because those things don't happen all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Right. If they happen all the time, that's just the norm.
That's the norm.
Right. I mean, and so like I used to kind of get a little bit like that too. You know, if I played a game and like I I just didn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't play well.
Right.
They're not all going to be winners, right? I actually had that this morning at the gym in my workout. I just didn't have energy this morning. And so the weight that I was moving just it felt way heavier than it usually does. I didn't feel like I pushed myself. I didn't feel like I went above and beyond. I don't even feel like, I almost kind of feel like I regressed a little bit. Like everything just felt a little bit heavier than it usually does. That's fine. Like we're not machines. There's going to be ebb and flow. There's going to be days where we just kind of have it, and then days where we don't. But again, it's about developing patterns.
Right.
It's like a graph. It's not just going to be a straight line going up. There's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, and all of that stuff. And you can look at that, and if you micro focus in on that, it's going to look like, oh, this was terrible, right? But then if you zoom out and you see the whole thing, we're still on an upward trajectory, right? And with Anonymous, you're talking about all these different things that you're doing. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, man, you're really active. So even though you may not, you may struggle getting to the gym this week, but you did this other thing instead. You're staying active.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about movement. It's about activity. It's about, getting your exercise any way that you possibly can. So, there's going to be some days I have to change up my workouts quite often because I just kind of get bored with stuff. And so I'm the same as you. Like, I hate running. I'll do anything to avoid running. And I used to be that way about like HIIT workouts too. Like I hated those. I'd rather do a steady state cardio, but that gets super boring.
Yeah.
So then now I kind of look forward to those days where I do something different.
Okay.
So variety is a good way sometimes to stay motivated too.
These are all really good points. And hey, Ryder, I'm going to just go ahead and remind you that Nick is taking this on. And so if you feel like, hey, look, I like all this stuff, maybe I need some accountability, maybe I need some coordination, mentalfitpersonaltraining.com.
Hey, good job.
Yeah, I
got
heard it.
that one right.
Because I heard it. That Jiminy Cricket neuron in the back of my head just whispered it to me. I got it now. mentalfitpersonaltraining.com. And hey, coming up, first quarter of the year, guys, as we're wrapping up fourth quarter, this is the time when a lot of us start thinking about health, mental health, trying to get right, start off the year with a little bit of momentum. And hey, a lot of us are going to be in that same shape. So this is when first quarter, we could really all join together, do this thing together, do the app together, chat through it. Nick will be on it. I'm sure he'll rope me into it. So it'll be an opportunity for us to just do this as a team, not to compare, but to propel each other, right? It's about compassion. It's about motivation. It's about doing it as a unit because we're more likely to succeed together. Mental health can be a team sport, and mental health and physical health are the same thing. So this is great, a great question, and really continues to open up the windows to why Nick needs to take this project on and why this is an extension ultimately of mental health care. And we're learning more about this. The science is pointing us in this direction. I know that for many of us, it's just become the punchline of a joke. Ha ha ha, yeah, I get it. I should work out. I could do better. Ha ha ha. And look, a lot of us gave up on ourselves a long time ago because of that mentality. But the truth is, we're not trying to run for the Olympics here. We're not trying to become a bodybuilder. These aspirational goals sometimes get so big that they become defeating, and any amount of progress seems insufficient. When the reality is, even if your goal is just to stay right where you're at and just not go any worse as you age, it's fine.
Well, even too, just starting off really small. Like you don't have to climb Everest.
Yeah, it's
in
not
a week.
The goal. That's hell not going to be my goal. My goal is going to be don't get any worse for a while. Do things that are healthful.
Well,
don't feel like your body hurts when you take a walk. That'd be great.
Let's do something more than what we did yesterday. Just a little
sometimes bit. That's it.
Let's go for a walk.
Which is why for me the Pilates things was such a good first experience because it was like, oh, that felt good. What Anonymous talks about. It's like that felt really good for me. I sit 8 hours a day in a chair. And so to get up and move joints and move muscles that otherwise don't really do much, it felt very good, but also makes me feel like, okay, I need to do a little bit of that. Again, not trying to train for the Olympics, not trying to get on the ice and hit the puck and get the winning shot, really not trying to suddenly become an athlete, not going for a brand change here. But I don't like hurting when I'm sitting down or feeling like I have to sit down because my muscles have weakened. So I'd like to do a little bit more so that I can at least feel healthier. That's it. So if you're like
There you
that
go.
too, check it out. Mental
Plus, you did a lot
fit.
more than Nick last week.
I mean, I'm crushing.
Ooh, it's
you
bothering me.
It's just crushing. Better luck next year,
You
Tangible.
know how to hurt me, Jacob.
Yeah.
Cuts
That's right.
you deep. Cuts you deep. So, guys, we've reached the end of the show. Want to remind you that we do a ton of extra stuff at patreon.com/therapy. Not only do you access extra time in every one of extra time in every episode, you can also access interviews and deep dives. We put a ton up there. Just in October, there is a deep dive with me as part of a behavioral health experts panel for Nevada Public Health. There is a deep dive into the relationship between serotonin and depression and a walkthrough of all medicines and treatments for depression. There is a deep dive coming up in October. At the end of October, we're closing it out with a big talk about the relationship between anxiety and physical exercise and how you can influence one by the other. So a lot of great stuff, not to mention you get instant access to the Discord community, which, as you heard Nick talking about in the last question, is very active. You get to interact with us directly, and every once in a while, sometimes there is a sighting of Mr. Jacob Smith.
For shizzle dizzle.
There was today, and people screenshotted noticing your name in the Discord and were posting it like, holy shit, he's here. And there was like, everybody be cool. Apparently, you accidentally sat on your phone and logged into Discord for a moment. And everybody
I wasn't on
lost their
Discord
shit.
today.
Well, then your wife is going through your phone.
Wait, can you see people if they just sign on?
Unless they turn that off, yes. So if they are just on
Oh, you know what? I
we
did
can see
sign
it.
on today because I got a notification you posted
I
something
did.
and tagged me in it.
And I even
And
told everybody that's why he's here, is because I just said everybody. And that tagged
usually
him.
I clear out the notifications. Today I accidentally clicked on it.
Yep.
So I did accidentally get on Discord today.
That's right. Patreon.com/therapy. You can enjoy the conversation that we have there and just a very supportive community of just really wonderful people, and join all the therapy that happens off the air. So Patreon.com/therapy. And we've got some new folks that have joined the party. Who's with us, Nick?
We got Ray J. Shark
Ray
as our
J.
new
Shark.
therapal.
That was my rap name back in high school.
And Ilea oh, shit.
No, you got
I've been
it.
practicing this
You
all
got it.
night.
You've got this.
Gribkov.
I like it.
Ilea Gribkov.
Ilea
Final answer.
Gribkov.
Therapod.
Jones.
I think that's going to be one of those names that when we read it really fast, it suddenly says
Yeah,
something
it just kind of
else.
clicks in.
No,
Oh,
like
oh.
it turns out to be like incoherent, like one of those puzzles that you say
Oh.
it enough times and it's like, oh, it's, profane.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Anyway, thank you. Welcome to the new folks. And of course, we want to thank our esteemed Thera partner, Dirty B, who greatly contributes to this episode and all of our episodes. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club. We talk about them Thera producers, talking about Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mintz, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Nathan's Meat Tube Sandwich, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Newstick, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slap in Your Face. What? Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman. Heyo! That's your part, Nick.
Yeah, I know. I was just processing.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
it sounds funny, but then it's like, I also hope that we don't start doing this every episode.
With Jacob,
right.
you can hope that doesn't happen. It only doesn't happen if he forgets that he ever did it.
Right.
He will.
Yeah.
I definitely will.
Yeah. If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side
He's
projects,
rediscovered the
go to
soundboard.
patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
Oh, that's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to all of you who contributed to the show today. We really appreciate it. To Nick Tangeman up in the helicopter.
Nick Tangeman!
Ba-ba-ba-bam! Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share the episode and tag us on social media when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter, and it's /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget, find more at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jim Jobin.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Ba-ba-bum. Good show, guys. I mean, it's uncanny how much he sounds like a helicopter.
That was the most convincing
It's
one.
a chin.
That was a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.